Tell you what, like everybody else, I think we're all obsessed with the Johnny Depp Amber case. I think first off, because it seems like it's a really cheap movie that's getting filmed, because every time you look at the defendant and the prosecutor, you sit there and you're like, okay, is that the lawyer from SVU? Why is Johnny Depp there again? Is this a movie or not? So, I think that's definitely part of it, surely. It's so drawing. And on top of that, the testimony, the endless little grabs of their lives. I guess, there's a reason that Hello Magazine is at the front of Coles. You got to know you got to keep up to date with these things, everybody. But look, while that was happening, we talked about it on the pod, and Miss, my dear friend, said that I was just asking him about it because I wasn't involved at this point, wasn't in the dramas then, but now I'm fully on board. And I said to him, what was Johnny Depp's demeanour like? And he said, pretty much just Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Confirmed. Except for now he's got glasses that are reading glasses because he's so old, but can't let myself be seen wearing glasses. That's a bit daggy. I'm going to have those 80s Coke dealer music producers glasses. So, yeah, vindicated. And then I said, and what was Amber's demeanour like? And this is the first little alarm bell that rang off in my mind when he said she was conveying every emotion on earth. Then I started watching the case a bit, and I was like, I swear I called it beforehand. I'm not doing that Monday back quarterback stuff, even though I am clearly doing that right now. But when I heard that and then saw her behaviour in the tapes, immediately I thought, she's got BPD, for sure. And I don't know that for a fact because I'm not a clinical psychologist and I've never actually met her. But nonetheless, let's just judge her anyway for the fun of it and the clicks, and also so that you sign up to Jordan Shanks. It's pretty vulture behaviour what's happening right now. But anyway, whatever, it's fun. Look, she just has all the classic traits, the vulnerable narcissism. You know how she was doing this that there's all these recordings of, my career, my reputation's ruined. What are you going to do about it, Johnny? What are you going to do about it? After she had just ruined that man's career. Help me, Johnny! You did this to me! That is a classic trait. I mean, honestly, if you've ever dated someone with borderline personality disorder, I think that you know as soon as you saw Amber, you were like, mm-hmm. There was that. That's always the classic one, that everything is always brought back to the fact that they are the victim in every circumstance ever. There's something that is infuriating about arguing with someone with BPE. That is that they cannot ever admit to being wrong. You know how ever sometimes in your mind, when you're arguing with someone, I mean, obviously there's arrogant partners left and right, but when you are arguing with someone, for the sake of moving on, you kind of just bite the bullet and say, okay, yeah, that was pretty bad. Yep, all right. Anyway, we're going to Disneyland or not? I honestly think that I've, in the borderline personality instances of my life, never admitted fault to anything, no matter how slight. And what happens every time? You actually do catch them out, like an attorney, and saying, you said this, and I present to you Exhibit B. Boom! Even at that point, what usually happens? Breaks down into tears. You always do this to me. You know, it just instantly starts crying about that. Then the other one, and this is the thing that was linked to me saying that she was displaying every emotion available. Look, that is a classic borderline personality disorder trait. It is when you are experiencing every emotion in a day, sometimes in a sentence. I remember talking to one that I knew in my life where she was starting the sentence laughing and finishing the sentence crying. And I remember at that point thinking, no, okay, there's something wrong there. You can't be that classic British commedia dell'arte, the smiling theatrical mask and sad theatrical mask within the span of a sentence. Unless you're a world-class actor like Amber Heard. I mean, guys, she was in Aquaman. Those are the two big alarm bells, though. There's this classic victimization and radical changing of emotions. The other one is the whole time when you were watching it, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but when you were listening to Johnny Depp yelling at her and calling her a cunt and all this kind of stuff, didn't you feel like that's probably not him constantly? You had a feeling that it was like, this is a man that has been brought to the brink of insanity. You know? Didn't it have that feeling about it, especially when you saw his demeanour on the court case, like, and even like he'd be looking back at it and shocked, thinking, Jesus, I said that? I swear, like, the thing is, when you are around somebody that is insane, usually you are drawn into that reality, especially because somebody with borderline personality disorder is very certain about their reality. If they are crying, they are completely justified in crying. This is the whole thing of just turning everything into victimization. They are completely certain that whatever they're feeling at that moment is justified, regardless of whether or not there is any logic behind it at all. If they are feeling it, it is justified. And so when you're around somebody who is that certain, you start morphing into that person's reality. Remember that exchange? Usually when you are in front of somebody who has a more certain reality than you do, you adopt their reality. That's what's the toxic element of being in a borderline personality disorder relationship. That other person brings you into their insanity because they are so certain of their insanity. Now, I know that I sound like I'm being really dismissive of people with borderline personality disorder, and I am. But at the same time, I've got to say, I feel sorry for you. I really do. I honestly do feel sorry for Amber Heard. It would probably be a living hell living with that. And you would be drawing people away from you all the time because you are this emotional tornado wherever you enter. And the thing was, the other thing that you heard in most of the testimony is Johnny Depp always trying to reason with her, always trying to bring her together and copying a lot of this, like, you did this to me, didn't you? Didn't you? And him just trying to, come up with some kind of reconciliation in that area. But the thing is, and this is another key trait of people with borderline personality disorder, they sort of have this paranoia in their head that you are going to leave, and they kind of make it self-fulfilling prophecy. And I don't think that they are in control of that. I think that is the chemicals talking. And they do push these people away. And they do it through a bunch of evil underlying manipulative tactics, like the classic one of when Johnny Depp was obviously really pissed off, throwing bottles everywhere because of how angry he was. Instead of doing what a normal person would be and be like, and walking away, trying to film that situation and then getting it on camera, and then there was that little smile at the end. Now, can you imagine how infuriating that would be, especially if your entire career was based on your reputation and someone was bringing you to that point and then filming it so that they have something to blackmail you over with? Because this is the to and fro in the mind of somebody that has borderline personality disorder. They don't want the person to leave, but they have a suspicion in their mind that they're going to leave. And again, because they're so certain about their reality, they actually make it happen. They push it away. Now, that is a very, very unfortunate set of psychology to have, I suppose. And I honestly do feel for those people because at their core, and I think that this is something else that a lot of people would agree with when they have dated somebody that has borderline personality disorder, at their core, you know that isn't them. You know that they're a good person. And I honestly think that the ancients had it right, because if you read back about what they were talking about with mental conditions, the thing that they were describing as borderline personality disorder was almost as if there was some kind of satanic spirit that had possessed the person. And they also kind of described it as they needed to release that energy onto the other person, that negative energy onto the other person. And then once that other person has that negative energy and they're festering, as you can see with that little smile at the end, they feel kind of better about themselves, that the other person feels sort of the way that they feel. So they're in that relationship, and this is when you're talking about a toxic relationship. You are getting that back and forward of negative energy moving back and forward from one person to the other, one person to the other, like you're throwing a medicine ball back to one another until usually the more rational one can't handle it and they leave. That is the cycle. And that bringing about of insanity. And the other one is, again, because of the certainty of it, that thing of just like, even when Johnny Depp would be saying things like, you released that article, and then she'd be like, no, I didn't. Oh, you don't believe me. It doesn't matter anyway. I do actually think that in her mind, she thinks that she did it. Because you just can't be that certain about a lie. And so that's the thing that's like starts seeping into the insanity of it, is that constant, when you're arguing with them being so certain about events that you know for a fact didn't happen, and that if you were in a rational debate with anybody else, and even if it is really heated, at some point people would just be saying, yeah, these basic facts occurred. But when you are usually with someone with borderline personality disorder, those facts don't occur. And so you start thinking, like, you know, just a really, really basic version of you just being like, you said black. And they go, no, I didn't. I said white. And then you go, they're so certain that they said white. Maybe they did. That's what starts happening. My only advice to you is, if you are in a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder, and keep in mind, I am not an expert on it, but I have had friends that have been in relationships with them, as have I, and the only way that I've ever seen it work is if you walk away. It is a tragic tale. Having borderline personality disorder is a true burden. It is a true tragedy. But I don't see anybody in a relationship with them ever becoming better for it. They are in the midst of someone who is possessed, as the ancients would say. You just have this darkness surrounding you, and you become a worse person for it, and they become a worse person for it. And the most insidious thing about it all is, and you can see it happening with Amber, there is this thing of, okay, I'm going to put a restraining order on you, but also come and see me. That another classic trait of just being like, I'm calling the cops, go away, fuck you, like, just get out of the house, whatever, just like, go away, and then you do go away, and they're like, wait, come back! That is another trait, because there is that to and fro, that conflict in their mind of, you're going to leave, aren't you? Don't leave! That's there. So there is, and also when that happens, usually, victim card comes in, also, it's all, look, it's getting all namby-pamby here, but it really does feel like that. It feels like the demon rescinds, and all of a sudden they're a normal person, and then as soon as you're back, you know, it comes back out again. It's tragic. It is truly tragic, and pretty much I only wanted to say all of that to say I feel for you, Amber, and I also wanted to use your name so that I could pick people to sign up to Jordan Shanks, because I think it honestly is an investment in yourself. It really is. Don't cheap out on that. You know how you invest in things like toothpaste? Well, with inflationary prices these days, this is cheaper, isn't it? Am I right? Am I right? Yes, it is. But this is just toothpaste for your brain. These are basic reminders, and also just giving you a basic more concept of, you know, psychological principles, but also just the absolute essentials for motivation for you to exceed in any field that you choose to endeavor upon in life. In any field at all, these are the basic principles that you need to know, and I can share them with you at Jordan Shanks, and I will get you results. I promise you that. Cancel any time.